Hey guys, welcome back. We're having some technical difficulties, so hopefully we're still live and you guys can see us. Make sure you hit that share button. Make sure that you've got your family and friends on. Record Scandal, but you need to be here tonight learning about the devastation of a soul tie.
That's right, and while you're coming on, make sure you share. I'm going to go ahead and share this now on my page because I want to make sure that everybody I know is getting an opportunity to watch this. Hi, Lawrence.
How y'all doing? Good to have y'all.
And while we're waiting, while they're setting up their phones, we're live tonight as usual. So if you have your questions or comments, we've got our phones ready. You post those questions and comments and we'll make sure that we're answering them tonight while we're on live. But tonight we're going to talk about the devastation of a negative soul tie. We want to make sure that you guys are informed of first what a soul tie is, and then how do you break the negative devastation that a soul tie has on you. While we're waiting and while we're getting set up and while you're hitting that share button, I want to take a moment, a shameless plug. You see Elisa has on one of our shirts tonight that says, "I'm worth the investment." I have on the other one that says, "Not this year." We want you guys to order these shirts. They mean a lot. You feel empowered when you wear them. And we just want to make sure that we make them available to you. So you can order them on our Facebook page. You can order them on our website. You can make sure that when you miss one of our live recordings, we have a YouTube channel. So make sure that you hit that YouTube channel. And if you need to share it with your cousin that's all the way over in California, do that. We want to make sure that we are connecting to everybody. We want to make sure that we're making an impact on people's lives and not an impression.
You know, speaking of our YouTube channel, if you did not get to join us, and for the 1,400 people that joined us live last week, thank you guys. We are so humbled and excited that you guys are joining us. And we can't do this without you guys because you're watching, you're sharing that, and we appreciate it. But if you did not get a chance, last week we talked about how to go from being a man to a king and from a woman to a queen. I mean, Tracy and I put some things out there about queening, like real queening. Lawrence really talked to those men. If you haven't tuned in already, he has been doing something just for men. Won't you tell them about that?
Yes, I actually just started the King's Corner. I actually started writing, but then I felt as if it would be easier for me to just do a video. And so I have a couple of videos on my relationship movement page as well as my personal page, the King's Corner. I'll be giving some tips every day on how to have those kingly attributes. I'm looking forward to empowering our brothers, and I'm looking forward to this discussion tonight because it's going to be on.
It's going to be on. So again, if you go back and watch the video, I promise you, we'll really talk about how to really walk in your royalty. We want you guys to understand that we are here to empower, enlighten, equip you guys, and we all want to be better. That's what we want to do. We're striving to be better. And so if you go back and watch how to be a king, how to be a queen, some of us, we think we're queening. And I said last week, you know, it's more than just smelling like honey and attracting bees. There's something else that has to happen. We talked about the 4 P's. I'm not even going to tell you what they are because I want you to go to YouTube.
That's right.
Go to our YouTube channel. It's freshly loaded up there. You go and you watch how to be a king, how to be a queen, and we hope you guys enjoy it. Once again, like she said, the shirt that Tracy has on, it says "Not This Year," and it comes in a variety of colors. You can get it in gray, you can get it in black, and you can get it in red. We have fitted sizes, we have regular sizes, and we want you guys to be sure to order them. This shirt is I am worth the investment, and it comes in this black and white and gold. So please support the movement. Again, like she said, you can go to our website, www.myrelationshipmovement.com/shop to order the shirts. We're also on Instagram. Please connect with us on Instagram. We daily post videos, we post quotes, all kind of things to keep you guys uplifted.
That's good. I'm about ready to get started whenever you guys are.
If you just joined, we're here. If you just joined, hit the share button because we want to make sure that everybody is watching tonight because we want to make sure that we open the floor for those of you all that might have comments, those of you all that might want to put some stuff out there, questions. We're talking about something that's real, raw, and relevant, like we like to say. And we're going to be on tonight. So you want to make sure that you're on. And listen, I was thinking about this too, and you tell me, if you are older and you have older children. They might be married, they might be single. Share it on your page, not just for you. You might say, you know, this really doesn't concern me, but you don't know if you're a teacher, if you're a counselor, if you're a pastor, if you're a mentor. There are so many people that listen to you, that watch what you watch, that do what you do. So share it, even if it might not hit you directly, even if you are one of the people that have gotten rid of a dangerous soul tie. There might be somebody you're connected to and you're saying, they need to hear this. This is what I was trying to tell them. I couldn't say it like that, but these people can. So do us a favor. Share it on your page. You have no idea who's watching and who could be touched by that.
And we definitely want to make sure that we get as many men on here as well.
That's right.
Because men can be caught up in soul ties as well. You know, find men who are stalking now. That's all a part of the soul tie that we're going to be dealing with tonight. And so guys who just can't let her go, the bottom line is it's a dangerous soul tie, and we want to deal with that tonight to help all of us, men and women, to rid ourselves of those dangerous things that can sort of hinder us.
So hit that bottom share button.
Please
again.
Share.
We don't even want to get started until we know that we have shared it. I've shared it on my personal page. It's on the My Relationship Movement page. Send guys there so that they can watch and really share it. And again, if you know it, you share it, because if you know that they're not available tonight, maybe they can come back tomorrow on your page. They might not be friends with us, and they can go to your page and watch this. We want to make sure. And there's a little button down there. You can invite people to join as well. Invite people. There's a little button here, and we want to make sure that, and we're pushing this because tonight's topic is so red hot. We're really going to hit some hot topic buttons tonight, and we do not want anybody to miss it. So hit your invite button, share this again, make sure you can get your friends, your family, your co-workers, your youth group, church members, everybody. I don't know anybody that this might not have hit in some kind of way. So share it.
And it's real, raw, and relevant. We don't sugarcoat it. We don't dress it up. We give it to you real, raw, and relevant.
Transparency.
So you need to make sure that you're watching tonight and sharing.
Transparency is the key. That's what we're going to do. All of us have some things that we can talk about, and that's what we want to talk about tonight. Literally, we appreciate all of you who are coming on. Please share. We're about to get started right now in a second.
You know, as we're getting started, it was so funny. When we were talking about coming up with our next subjects, I always tell you guys, we don't just pull them out of the sky. You know, we try to be led, and we try to be sensitive to the needs and what's going on. And I got several inboxes over the last few weeks from women that were talking, and they didn't even know that they were talking about soul ties. They just knew that I'm dealing with something unhealthy. I don't know what that is that is keeping me from breaking free. I thought I moved past them, or I'm here and I need to move past it. What in the world is it that's keeping me bound in this situation? And so we're gonna hit some triggers tonight. And you know, when it comes to stuff like this, sometimes we feel ashamed. I'm gonna let Dr. T, you know, get that out of here. That sense of feeling like, you know, I don't want anybody to know that's something I deal with, because that's one of the reasons we decided to be transparent. But we don't want that to keep you guys from not sharing it, because again, if it doesn't apply to you, there's somebody else. You know, what keeps us from saying, even if we're dealing with something, I don't want to put that out there, let me be in denial. Why would we do that?
It's called shame. And actually, when you are ashamed of something, you deny it. And when you deny it, you're not willing to take responsibility for it, and you're not willing to acknowledge it. And when you don't do those two things, you can't make a change.
Wow. So when you deny it, you can't take responsibility because you won't accept it and acknowledge it.
Right. And then change comes about when you accept and you acknowledge. And when you don't do those things, denial is still there, and you're basically walking around with shades over your eyes and just going through the motions. So there is no change. There is no physical and mental change that's taking place, because oftentimes change starts in our minds.
Yeah,
and when we don't address it, we can't begin to make the physical change of removing ourselves from those situations.
That's good.
So what ends up happening is that we walk around kind of like with a brown paper bag over our eyes, saying, I don't see it, and if I don't see it, it doesn't really exist.
Right.
Oh, it exists.
Oh, it exists.
It exists.
And I really want to touch on this also, because as a pastor,
that's good.
We would really be surprised at the number of people in our congregations
that's right. That's
who deal with a lot of this. And so that's why we are really trying to make an impact, because if you have an unhealthy congregation, it's just going to spill over into other areas of ministry, because whatever ministry they're in, they take that behavior, they take that unhealthy lifestyle, if you will, and it bleeds over into the people that they're serving. So we want to really actually make a difference in not just our local area, if you will. But we want to make a difference in the spiritual, in the churches that really need it.
That's right. You know, we're gonna, like I said, we're not holding back tonight. We're just gonna go ahead and drive.
We're about to let it go.
And
Drive?
dive
You ready
on,
to go?
drive it and
Okay.
dive on in there. Let's just start honestly. There are a lot of people that are dealing with somebody that they've made a connection with sexually that they cannot get past. And it's not because the sex is good. It's because they, and I'm talking about unhealthy relationships. It's
Right.
because they feel like, and the reason why we're going to be so blunt tonight is because we think these are love ties. And we're going to be really, really honest tonight about my emotions holding me to it because we think those are love ties because we are not taking the time to separate our mental capacity and our emotional. We're not, and we're going to talk about that compartmentalizing. We're not compartmentalizing it. And so we automatically think, I'm feeling this way, so it's got to be love drawing me. But there has been a soul tie because of the connections that have been made. We know that there are some of you all, and again, let's start by saying none of this is in judgment. All of us have dealt with
Right,
stuff.
sure.
We say this
Everybody
every week. We are not experts. We are specialists. That means that these are situations that we deal with
Right.
professionally and personally. So we don't have any
Absolutely.
judgment. The only reason that we're driving to do this is because we can say there's a way to get free of soul ties. So first we're going to uncover it. We're going to put it all out there. We're going to rip the Band-Aid
It's
off.
gonna be rough.
But then we're going to find that Neosporin. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to soothe it. And we're going to say, hey, there is a way to heal past this. But let's be honest. There are people right now in relationships. And if we were in church, we would have said, if you can't say amen, say ouch.
Yeah.
All right? So there are people right now in relationships
Right.
that are not able to be faithful to those relationships because they have a soul tie with somebody
That's
else.
true.
And that's why Lawrence said earlier, we want men to get on this. And men, you know, it's okay if you press the share button and your guys see this because people can go through the motions and you don't even know they're needing help, especially guys. I don't know
Right.
what that
That's
is,
true.
but are guys quick to say,
Oh,
listen,
man.
dude, I'm dealing with a soul tie. You know, I say that.
We're
don't
gonna
I?
go way more on that.
So they're not going to say that, but there are a lot of people entangled in soul ties right now. Whether they're in a relationship or whether they're single, they're acting, you know, we can act like we got it all together. I'm past that. But I said earlier on a video that I said, you get that little WYD text that what you doing,
Right.
and all of a
At
sudden
2 o'clock in the
at 2,
morning.
it could be 10 a.m. It doesn't matter this hour. And you're just saying, let me figure it out. Those are soul ties, and we're going to put those things out there. I'm going to give you guys this. I read this about soul ties, and then you can talk about how true it is. They said, imagine 2 pieces of wood. Now, we both know wood is sturdy,
Yes.
it's strong.
Yeah.
So imagine 2 pieces of wood, and you put Gorilla Glue on both of those pieces of wood.
Oh, yeah.
All right? And then you slap them together. Not just slap them together, you leave them overnight. So you put the glue on 2 pieces of wood. I'm not talking about those 2 pieces, planks of wood. You put them together with super glue. You leave them overnight. Now, what is that glue done? It's bonded. Now, that's not the soul tie. Here's the dangerous part of an unhealthy soul tie. The next day, you come to that same two pieces of wood and say, that's not right. Let's rip it off.
Rip it off.
What happens? Some of the residue from the
Still
first
on.
piece of wood is still on the first one. And some of the second pieces of wood's residue is on the first one. So we're separating it. But guess what? Wood A still has some of wood B's residue. That bark is still there. And vice versa. So even though you separated it, there's a
still there.
remnant left. And that's what happens when there's a soul tie that gets separated.
And one of the things that I was sharing with a young lady, it's been a couple, 2 or 3 years ago now, I was saying that what you have to realize is that every time you enter into a relationship with another guy and y'all have sex, you're actually taking the residue from him, and you still got the residue from the first guy, the second guy, the third guy, and then all of a sudden you're trying to figure out why your emotions are all over the place, and then even to the point where you can be with a guy and be intimate with him, and you just don't feel it. It's because that previous soul tie drove you crazy, had you doing all kind of crazy stuff, got you thinking out of your head, and now you can't get rid of that feeling, and you're with somebody else now, thinking about another man. As that song says, your mind is here, but your body and your thoughts are on the other side of town. And it's because when you connect with all these different men, and brothers also, well, with brothers is a different thing, but when sisters connect with all these different men, they pick up all of those things, if you
Right.
will, those moods, those everything else from that guy,
Yep.
because they think it's just sex, but they don't understand that there's that connection that has taken place,
Right.
and it's hard to break that once you continue to stay in those types of
Dr.
situations.
T, so then, because you do me like this all the time, so can we say then that we're going to dispel a rumor? I would venture to say, there is no such thing as casual sex.
No, not
There
at all.
There is no people, and I'm putting this out there because some of us try to act like, oh, they're just so promiscuous, you know how they do that. Ooh, they just and they just sleeping around. And I don't do casual sex, you know, as if there's a limit, because every time you deal with somebody, there's an intertwining. So can we dispel the rumor that there's no such thing as casual sex?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, can I get biological on y'all real
Ooh,
quick?
go there. I like
Go ahead,
that.
doctor.
Let's get a little biological here. Real quick, I won't go deep. There's a part of our bodies that's called the lymphatic system.
Mm-hmm.
This system is basically our hormones that start in our brain.
Mm-hmm.
This regulation system, it controls our emotions,
Mm-hmm.
it controls our thoughts, it controls our memories. So when we talk about soul ties are more than just the physical act of having sex.
That's good.
A man doing what he does, a female doing what she does. It even goes as far as the molecular level, in that our emotions are tied
Too deep for
to
me.
That's
that
good.
act of sex. Our memories are tied
That's
to
right.
that act of
That
sex.
dopamine.
The
That's right.
dopamine
See,
is
yeah,
released.
look,
The
that doctor
pleasure,
stuff.
That's
the
right.
pleasure principle is well into effect when we have sex. Excuse me. So now we're not talking about casual sex,
No, there's no such
because
thing.
your entire body is involved in that act now.
And let me just, on a serious note, dopamine, D-O-P-A-M-I-N-E, when you read that or you go do some research on that, what you discover is that in your human body, dopamine is what causes people to become addicted to whatever it might be,
Right,
sex
right.
or drugs.
Right.
And so that dopamine is running like crazy now, because when you're thinking you're having casual sex,
Right.
and especially if he's,
Blowing
knocking a home run. I mean, now you're
Real
just gone.
relevant.
You're just gone now, so that you become addicted. So
Right.
even if he's got another woman, you want him,
Right.
and you got to realize that stuff is becoming
Right.
very hazardous for you.
And we're dispelling these rumors because people are trapped.
Right.
Yes.
And they do not know how to get free, and so they stay in these unhealthy relationships. I've been talking to women especially that can tell me, and they can go down a list of what this man is doing. He left, he had an affair,
Right.
he's still seeing this girl, there was a baby, there was this, there was all of these things. But do you think he's telling the truth though when he say though, I'm still, what is, and that thing, and that's why we're addressing it so aggressively, because like I said, at the end, this is going to make sense. We're not just going to talk about it. We're going to talk about how to get out of it, because so many people, there's something about this arena where we can't hardly stand to be transparent because there's fear of judgment. We talked about that in one of our segments before.
Right.
You feel ashamed, like
I'm
I should
ashamed
be
of my
better
mistakes.
than this,
Right.
And I talked about, because we're diving on in. First of all, one of the things we want to make sure we say is there's a such thing as a healthy soul tie.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
And I'm gonna let Lawrence, he can give you the biblical side of that, because when you love a person, and I had said healthy soul ties are formed through love.
Right.
They're formed through loyalty. When a person loves you, there's a life lesson where somebody showed their love and their loyalty. Your soul is tied to them because you say that person has my back no matter what.
Right.
I will go through hell and high water for them. So your soul is knitted to them because you're saying I trust them with my life. Those are healthy soul
Right.
ties to people that are benefiting and have proven themselves
To be
that
good.
this is what I can be for you.
Now, I want to just deal with this also. Scripturally, the Bible says that we're spirit, soul, and body. I think I mentioned this on
Right.
another segment. Listen to me now. The Bible says that we're spirit, soul, and body. Now, if you want to know how to quickly have an unhealthy soul tie, let them start with the body.
Yep.
Because God had an order for a reason. He says spirit,
Right.
soul, and body. And so if you start with the body, or if he starts with the body, you're going to initially develop an unhealthy soul tie
That's right.
because you started wrong.
That's right.
If you don't have somebody who can reach you in your spirit,
That's right.
Right.
connect with your soul, then after marriage, preferably. You let them connect with the body. It's a whole different ball game.
That's right.
So anyway, I'm gonna leave that. Let Tracy talk now.
Yeah, Tracy. So Tracy, help me here, Dr. T, because this is good, and we're getting a little deep, and we're getting a little raw because we want to be relevant.
Oh, we just real.
We want to be real. We see enough superficial.
Oh,
we see the cute books about and again, we love always throwing, and that's why this platform is universal. Sometimes it's deeper than going to church and praying about it.
Sure.
Sometimes it's deeper than talking to your mom and letting her tell you,
right.
well, sweetie, I did it.
Right.
I didn't have any problem. Sometimes it goes a different level, and so we had to take a different platform to reach. I was thinking, unhealthy soul ties are formed by sex, but what maintains them is lust.
That's it. When you decide that you're in lust with someone, you will discover that they're not bringing anything to the table. They're not making you better. They're making you bitter.
Bitter.
And now you're trying to scheme and manipulate a situation to where you're trying to be the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what lust does
Right.
to you. Lust makes you think outside of who you really are.
Who you are.
It doesn't allow you to be your authentic self.
That's good.
You're trying to please whoever it is that's causing the lust.
See? So y'all got that? That was one. Unhealthy soul ties are formed with sex, but what maintains them is lust.
Right.
The next one I was thinking about is unhealthy soul ties are formed because of a need for companionship, but they are maintained because you're scared of being alone.
And that's a key one for a lot of people, because one of the things that I recognize is that sometimes, especially with women, I'll say more so than anything, they get to that point where, especially if they start to get a little older, they don't have no man, they got nobody taking them out, and so they start going through a little phone and say, "Hey, how you doing today?"
Oh, wow.
And really, it's just a sign that you want somebody to come take you out and go to the movies with you, or whatever the case may be, because you don't have the strength, if you will, to be alone and let God work on you during that process. But at the same time, what you have to discover is when you go back, pull off one of those phone numbers or pull out one of those phone numbers, he's just gonna come by, have a little drink with you, and then one thing leads to another because your hormones are kicking, and you hadn't had that fix in a minute. And then what happens is you end up going backwards. You end up continuing to have that soul tie that you really have been trying to get rid of.
Right. And then we lie to ourselves saying a piece of man is better than no man
Oh
at
my
all.
goodness. We'll say that.
Well, most times they'll say now I'd rather have no man than a piece of man, but the real truth is most of them just got a piece of man.
Right. We
And
lie
okay.
to ourselves.
Yeah, I say that. Yeah. Most of them got a
Right.
piece
So
of man.
we want you guys to take these tips. So we just said that unhealthy soul ties formed by sex, maintained by lust. That's the first one. Formed by companionship, but maintained because of loneliness. And then the third one I was thinking about is they're formed by insecurity, but they're maintained by manipulation.
We're going to let you take the third one. Go ahead.
Fine, I got that. So when you're insecure, that means there's a lot of room for self-doubt. That means that, listen, that one was a good one. Don't preach it Sunday. So when you're insecure, you already have these issues. Already there's a place you haven't elevated yourself. You don't see yourself a certain way. So what happens is, and this can be a man or a woman, there is not a respected person, because there are women that prey on those kind brothers, those sweet guys that are just so, and they find these guys that are just so happy that you spoke to them, and so what you do is, this is not the one you take in front of your friends, but when you want something new, want a trip or something, you go, pull out the one that you got in your back pocket, because there is some insecurity there. And so it's maintained by manipulation. You know just when to say what you need to say. And again, fellas, women, we get done the same kind of way. When you know a woman is insecure, maybe she's self-conscious about her weight. Maybe, she's vulnerable.
Right.
Maybe, there's some things she just, she don't feel like maybe she's the prettiest person. Or maybe, she's not as articulate as somebody else. And she knows that this is what you usually deal with. But then you turn around and give her a little attention because that maintains that there's a need. So it's formed already by the fact that she is already feeling insecure. And all of these things, they're unhealthy because we talked about this last week. A real king wants you to be a queen. A real queen doesn't want anybody less than a king. And so anybody that plays into your insecurity, plays into your loneliness, plays into your lust, that's all manipulation. That's unhealthy.
Right.
I agree with that 110%. And this insecurity, I promise you, insecurity is probably one of the biggest detriments to your life. Because when you're insecure, you send a signal to a man, and he knows how to play and prey, P-R-E-Y,
That's right.
There you go.
on that insecurity.
That's right.
And so he'll come and say a couple of nice things to you that just sort of gets you off track, if you will,
That's right.
and makes you feel like, oh, wow, he's paying attention to me. But that insecurity causes you to go a little bit further than you wanted to
That's
go,
right.
if you will.
Right.
And so if you learn how to work on you to make yourself,
That's right.
to get to the point where you feel better about yourself, feel better about who you are, and let insecurity go out the door, then your chances of having to stay in those type of situations will be totally different.
So
and then what
Tracy,
ends up happening
Go ahead.
is that when we allow ourselves to be manipulated,
right. Yep.
when we allow ourselves to feel lustful,
Yep.
when we allow ourselves to be preyed upon
Yep.
because we feel insecure about who we
Lonely.
really are and
Right.
we're lonely, what ends up happening is we find ourselves in situations that end up damaging us even more.
That's exactly
Which
what I was
brings
gonna
about
ask.
the shame,
Yep.
which continues to keep us together in those soul
There
ties.
you go.
Because now we're doing things out of our character, outside of our character, that allows us to keep those soul ties. And what ends up happening is the more that we do those things, the more intertwined we become.
Right. And what I was going to say, that's exactly what I was leading toward. Do you know how it is when there's a little your child is acting up? You've seen a mom discipline a child, and the same mom that just hit him and hurt him, he goes to running back to her, trying to hug on to her. And you're looking like, didn't I just hurt you? Didn't you know that was pain? But I'm reaching towards you because it's comforting in the familiarity. But I know you. You hurt me, but you're who I'm familiar with.
Right.
You hurt me, but I'd rather be hurt by you than somebody else that I don't know. And sometimes that fear. And again, we're reiterating this because, like you said, we don't want to impress, we want to impact. So we just said, dangerous soul ties are formed by sex, but lust maintains them.
Right.
They're formed by need for companionship. But that sense that fear of isolation and loneliness maintains it. They're formed by insecurity, but but manipulation is what maintains it. And like I said at the end of this, we're going to talk about there are steps to get free because all is not lost.
Right. We're going to take about a 30-second break. Not in the sense of a break, but we want to look at a couple of posts that you guys may have or a question that you may have. And so I want to just make sure that we are capitalizing on this time that we have with you guys. So if you got a question, if you got a comment, while Miss Elise takes a look at the comments.
And send some love on this screen. Let us know that you guys are
send
watching
some love.
it.
Make sure you got the same comments so we can make sure that we're covering everything.
And press the share button. Someone said that they weren't able to see the video. Can you guys see us really clearly? I want to make sure
I
that
can see myself.
I see us, but I see the love. So
Yeah, I
thank
see
you.
the love.
I think
Send some more love. So
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
so you guys are watching. Thank you guys so much. All righty. Yeah. Once again, this is good. This is going to be available later on YouTube.
Sure.
So we want to make sure that if you didn't catch it all, then I got to go back and catch that. And send people to YouTube. And if you say, I know people that they're not on Facebook, send them to YouTube and they can watch everything that we've done in the past and what we're doing tonight. Send them to YouTube so that they can watch it. We guys really appreciate that. And again, everybody's saying yes, yes, yes. Great. And again, hit the share button because we want to make sure that everybody is able to get in on it. All right? Y'all ready to go
Thank you,
deeper?
guys.
Now, part two. Let's talk about this. Okay, we just identified how unhealthy soul ties are formed and what maintains them.
But for those who are just maybe getting on, because I see a couple people just getting on,
Oh,
we can
okay.
take about 30 seconds
Oh,
to reiterate
welcome.
what we've gone
Yeah.
over.
Talk
That would
about,
be really
give them
helpful.
our scenario about the wood.
All right, so we're talking about soul ties tonight, and we're talking about the devastation of unhealthy soul ties. And we opened up with an example of what a soul tie is. So if you think about two pieces of wood that you glue together using super glue or Gorilla Glue, and you put those two pieces of wood together, then tomorrow morning you wake up and you decide, you know what, I don't need those two pieces of wood together. Let me take them apart. when you pull them apart, you have to rip them apart.
That's right.
What ends up happening is the residue
right.
from one piece of wood is now on the other piece of wood, and the residue from the other piece of wood is now on the first piece of wood. And when you think about ripping something apart, do you ever rip anything apart gently?
No.
No. There's always a pulling, there's always pain, there's
Right.
always struggle. So what ends up happening is there's some remnants or some residue left behind. And that's what a soul tie is. A soul tie is something that devastates you, number one, causes you to be inauthentic and not your authentic self, number two. But more importantly, a soul tie, if it's not a healthy soul tie, leaves a devastating residue that is hard to get rid of, but not impossible.
That's right.
Again.
One of the things that we want to make sure that we're saying here is when we talk about soul ties, unhealthy soul ties, we want you to understand we're talking about unnatural connections.
Right.
And so we're going to take a moment to make sure that we're clear about that.
Unnatural.
It's unnatural. It's not your natural affection to somebody. Because if it were that, if you were just with somebody and you guys were together and you just loved them, you know, would do anything for them, that's natural. What's the unnatural connection? And I said this in a post earlier is, let's take, and we're coming down your street. That's just what we're going to do tonight.
Let's do it.
You're a single woman. You got to have a nice job. You've got your own apartment or house. You got a car you pay for. You're able to pay your bills. You're able to maintain on your own. You used to be connected with this joker. And listen, he had you all over the place. He had you sexually. He had you mentally. He had you emotionally. You were financially. You're taking care of him. And so you finally got to the place where you were able to leave. You know, if it were that you just had to get a good job that just took your attention, you went back to school, you said, I just got to get distracted so I can get past this man. And you've gotten, or you thought, I moved past him. And then 6 weeks later, you are doing good. You're meeting friends. You're open. You're posting memes about the good woman ready looking for a good man and every strong woman. You know how we do, and you playing your good I'm every woman. So you know you got all this going on. And all of a sudden, one night, 2:30 a.m., you get those 3 letters, WYD. Now, here is the unnatural connection. Nothing in you should respond to that. Because you're saying, this man hurt me, he stripped my finances, he made me ashamed, I caught him cheating, but here you are, nothing, what are you doing? Wait, what?
Why are you entertaining?
You're entertaining. Now he's saying, you know, I need to see you.
I miss you.
I need to see you. And sometimes they don't even throw miss out there. We're talking about the unnatural part of it. And because that residue, that wood that was left when you ripped those 2 pieces of wood apart, because that hasn't, I don't even want to give away the ending that we're going to talk about, but because that hasn't been purged, it's still there. Now there's something that's drawing you unnaturally. And then he's saying, let me come over there. I just want to talk to you. Don't even worry. I just need to look at you a minute. I don't want to mess up your life. He putting it out. Listen now, giving you all the time. I don't want to mess up your life, boo, baby. I just want to come see you. You know, and then you say, 5 minutes. You got to just come over here and talk. You just set yourself up for that. You know where this is going. Unnatural soul ties. When you looking at this woman, and because we always got to advocate for the men too, and you know this woman is like, you already know that she has somebody else, but she just saying, you know, I try other things, but it's you. It's just, it's you. And then you saying, why am I falling for this chick? Let me go and give you, girl, it's the last $100 I'm giving you. And you know, and she's sitting there saying,
right. You know, I was doing, and hopefully I'm okay to use this example, but I was doing some parenting classes. I was doing some parenting classes with this young lady, and the gentleman was there. Now the lady has a drug problem, and she's trying to get over the actual drug problem, but she pointed to the guy. She said, that's my addiction right there. She said, that's it.
Yeah, she has said a mouthful.
She said it. She said it. Just hadn't been that long ago. She said, that man right there, that's my addiction. She was doing all that. She was doing all that. I promise you. I wasn't just making she was doing all that. And I'm saying, I was trying to help her understand. I said, why do you say he's your addiction? And she had become so addicted to the sex. And it was almost as if her addiction to the sex was just as strong as addiction to the drug.
Wow.
Well, probably more.
Wow.
Because if his phone wrong, she's going crazy because she's thinking of somebody else, and she's already got this other problem that she's dealing with. And I'm saying all this because as we said a little while ago, there's no such thing as casual
No
sex.
such
Right.
thing.
Because residue from every relationship is going to stick with you. Because women, you guys take this stuff emotionally, where for us, we can just get up and go, find another one, the next person. But you guys become so addicted.
Let me play
Oh, it's
devil's
true now.
advocate
Oh, no,
here.
it's true.
That part is true. But let me tell you something.
Now,
and
there
I
are a couple of men who
right, there you go. I just want to say
I'm not saying all men. but I'm
I
saying
just want to
The stalker
say
mentality.
most men can get up and just go move to the
But
next
here's what
level.
I'm gonna make the plea for. I got to.
All right, let's see.
Because there are a lot of women who want their men, but their men cannot stay. There's a woman, not a bunch of women. There's this one woman that he cannot get past. I'm hearing this because, right, and I'm just trying to make, just trying to make
But I
it
can tell you
credible
the
for
reason
both
for that,
women.
though.
What's the reason?
Most times when a man is stuck like that, it's not so much because of the woman and all she has to offer. For a man, he thinks from another perspective. He thinks with a different head.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I'm saying is he becomes addicted to the way she may have made him feel or the things that she may have done to him.
Right.
It's not so much that he's connected to her in such a way intellectually and
Right.
this and that,
Right.
because
That's
an
it.
intellectual man who knows who he is, he's going to find an intellectual woman.
You right.
And at the same time, saying when a man, she knows how to drop it like it's hot and twerk and everything else. That's what causes him to be addicted.
And but y'all are hearing, and that's good. And
I'm saying it from
we
a man's
right. We
perspective.
have these debates on every show because we
Yeah.
want to see you guys. A lot of times we'll try to make excuses for stuff until somebody has to say, "Listen, stop." Stop with the excuses. We hear it, but at this point, you're just too grown to still be making
Right.
excuses for intolerable behavior.
Right.
You see, that's just like you see your child. He was throwing tantrums when he was 2 and 3. He 12, and he's still throwing tantrums, and you saying he get like that when he's sleeping. What? He's
Exactly.
12.
Yep,
So sometimes we got to just get there because we didn't get free of certain things that we dealt with until somebody had to finally say stop. So like Lawrence just said, that's still a tie. So that woman still has a certain level of influence. That's what we're trying to be. That's what we're trying to tell you guys. Unhealthy influence. Mm-hmm. These are soul ties because she can reach in and you sitting there saying, but I cook for him and I make sure I wash his clothes and I'm raising his son and daughter. And I make sure he get up for work on time. And that woman send one cute text that say, "Hey, I need you."
But see, this is the other part that made me think about. You think about a man who stalks a woman or a man who does all of these other odd things.
They kill him over that.
In a man's mind, I want y'all to hear me now. I'm talking to the ladies because y'all be thinking something totally different, that
That's
he
right.
loved you. A
That's
man
good.
is saying to himself, I don't want to see another man coming over here getting this.
Period.
That's why
Point
he's
blank.
That's why
Period.
he's doing what he's doing.
Come on now.
Because the thing about it is, you think about it. For a man, I can see if he had a woman who was paying all his bills, doing all this, doing all that. Then he made, but for the most part, and I'm not saying all men, I'm saying a great portion of men who are the stalkers, who are the ones who can't let you go.
Right.
They're saying to themselves, I don't want nobody else to get what I was getting.
And so let me tell you what he just did for women. Listen,
I freed y'all.
He just enlightened. He is the enlightenment specialist. He just said, what you're seeing and thinking is love and devotion and protection.
There you go.
Oh, he loved me so much he don't want to see me with anybody else. We talked about last week, the king in a man says, I'm dominant and I'm an alpha, and because I've conquered that, nobody else gets to walk around saying, it really has nothing to do with you personally sometimes. Right. And we're talking about unhealthy. We're talking about men that go out and cheat and that go out and do all of these things. So stop making that be your excuse for holding on in love. Every time I try to leave, he let me know that he can't live, he fall out, and he can't live. This man just spoke to you as a man.
That's why you hear some men say stuff like, if I can't have you, nobody will.
Right.
What you think he's trying to say?
Right.
He talking about you as a person. He talking about have that sex.
Because he don't want another man saying, yeah, I was with such and such.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
I thought I had that on lock. This kind of thing happens. And again, with women, and I hate to say this, some women have the same mindset financially about a man. They don't want to be with their man. They're just thinking, I wish I would let another woman benefit from those finances. I'm not doing that. So she reels them in with a soul tie. She reels them in with something she know appeases him. And what happens?
This is good conversation.
This is good grown folk conversation.
That's right.
And what we have to remember is that as long as you continue to deny it,
there you go.
As long as you continue to walk around and be shameful of what
share
mistakes.
Share the video.
Share it now.
as long as you continue to walk around in shame, you will not be able to fix the problem.
You will not. You say that all the time. You always tell us if we don't identify it and talk about it, we'll just keep going. Now listen, what we're going to get it ready, and I hope you guys have shared it. We're going to identify 7 signs that you are having a healthy soul tie to somebody.
Exactly. But we need to give them an example of a soul tie.
Give them an example of an unhealthy soul tie. I just gave you
a healthy soul tie.
Oh, a healthy soul tie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to us from the Bible about Jonathan real quick, and David, and about how their souls were knitted together and why that was healthy.
Now, some people try to use that text as saying that those 2 men had, an unhealthy relationship. But that actually is just symbolic. When you talk about Jonathan and David,
Right, it's symbolic.
the Bible says that the soul of Jonathan was knit to David, meaning they had that connection. And whenever you have a real soul tie to someone, matter of fact, you can give them a tool, if you will, or a sword that can possibly kill them, but you know that you have such confidence in that person that they wouldn't use that against you. That's what you call a healthy soul tie. When you got a person that you'll put your life on the line for, and you know, and we are beyond a shadow of a doubt that person's not going to use that against you.
Right, and so he just really identified even an unhealthy one, and I don't even know if this is on my list, but when you share your deepest, darkest insecurity with somebody, and then the moment that they feel like you're getting out of their grasp, they use that against, that's an unhealthy soul tie. So if I tell you, I can't stand it. My dad used to yell at me. I don't like when people yell. It makes me feel weak. It makes me feel vulnerable. And then when you're mad, you start yelling because you know that that's going to bring me into that little girl place of submission. That's unhealthy because we just said that's manipulation.
Right.
That's manipulation. We hope you guys are sharing it. We're putting some stuff out there tonight. Now, first one, how you understand and recognize that you have an unhealthy soul tie. You're in a physically, emotionally, or spiritually abusive relationship. You hit on this one time. But you feel so attached to them that you refuse to cut off the connection and you refuse to put boundaries in place with them.
One of the lies that you will find yourself telling yourself when you are in this type of situation with an unhealthy soul tie is what our mamas used to believe about domestic violence years ago. He beats me because he loves me.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
That is his way of letting me know he loves me.
Wow.
He talks to me that way because he loves me.
Wow.
And he doesn't know any better.
That's unnatural.
Right. It's an unnatural soul tie. And we have to be very careful. Lawrence talked about it earlier, about how we lie to ourselves and we tell ourselves things such as he loves me, which is why he talks to me that way. He talks to me in a harsh manner. We lie to ourselves to make ourselves feel better about the situation we're in.
But it's unhealthy. That's unhealthy. All right, we're going to keep it moving. Second, we just talked about this. You left the relationship a long time ago, but you're thinking about that person obsessively. You're wondering, what are they doing? You can't get them out of your mind. You're stalking their Facebook page. You're on Instagram trying to see. You're asking questions about, what are they doing? Because you're sitting there saying to yourself, apparently, if I'm thinking about him, surely what you're doing is you're looking for signs that he's still thinking about you. And then you go crazy when you see he posting pictures. He with his friends. He balling. He right. And then, but you just said something. But you telling yourself, oh, he's just with her. He's trying to replace me.
Right.
Is he really trying to replace you, Lord?
At all.
Because we gotta help. Because this is the kind of stuff that
He's
comes
telling the
to us.
truth.
He's trying to replace me. He's trying to get past me with somebody else. There'll never be another me. You know how we do ourselves like that.
Sure.
3. Whenever you do anything, this is how you recognize that you're in and again, we're saying this is unhealthy. When you're in a loving relationship where there's ROI, return on investment, where there's reciprocity, this is fine. But we're talking about unhealthy. Whenever you get ready to do anything, make a decision, have a conversation, you feel like that other person is watching you or they with you, or you thinking about, wonder what they'll say if I, wonder what they'll say about if I did this. Wonder what they'll say about what I wear. Wonder what they'll say if I go. So you talked about this before, about how women start trying to feel like, if a guy is territorial, I don't want you seeing your mom. I don't want you doing this.
Right.
And we, talk a little bit about that because you said that about women. We'll turn that to be, that's so protective and so, what is that?
Yeah, I've always said that anytime a man tries to take you away from your family, when I say take you away, I'm saying he makes it seem as if I just want to spend all this time with you, just me and you, baby. He's actually setting you up to be a master manipulator, number one, but he's also setting you up to show you a real subtle, real sort of smooth way of being abusive, because those are all signs of a very insecure person. Those are signs of a very manipulative person, and those are signs of an abusive person in their own way.
All right, well,
I promise
listen.
you on that one now.
This next one is a
Real
little hot
raw and
topic.
relevant.
It's
Come on
real
now.
raw and relevant. How do you recognize you're in an have an unhealthy soul tie? When you are being intimate with the person you're supposed to be with, but you're thinking about the person that you're not with anymore.
Exactly.
They didn't do that like that. I didn't feel like that. That wasn't the same. That you cannot get past that. We're talking about it tonight.
Keep
Talk
it
about
real
that.
and raw.
That's what I sort of touched on a little while ago, because I promise you, as I've gotten older and I actually see the mistakes that I've made personally, going here, there, and everywhere, and I think that one of the things that women have to understand, and I'm saying this from an enlightenment specialist.
That's right.
Ladies, if you can get to the point where you do not keep, or not gonna say keep, that you do not open up the candy store to every man
That's
that
right.
comes along,
That's right.
Right.
I promise you it'll save you a whole lot of unnecessary drama, trouble,
Yes.
because the more people that you're intimate with, and if God happens to send you a real great guy, you'll mess him up, you'll mess the relationship up, because he now can't perform sexually in most parts, in most instances rather, and I'm saying that from the perspective of what we're saying, because you're still thinking about a man who drove you crazy. So now you got a very nice guy, but he's just not wild. He doesn't wild out like the other guy. He don't hit the places like the other guy. And so now you end up losing a great relationship because you're thinking about this other man who just had you going crazy. Now we're talking about being raw and real,
Yeah.
and those are some of the things that really happen, because they find a person and they just drive them crazy, and so now they're not with that guy, and so they still want a good man, but when they get the good man, he's not good enough because of that one area.
Right.
Now he's a nice provider, he's a nice father to the kids, he's a great everything, but I'm just missing that sexual piece.
But
and
did
that
Dr.
kills
T
you.
just say
That
that
kills
a
you.
lot of that had to do, we think
Y'all hear
that...
that scream? Y'all know I'm telling the truth.
Did Dr. T just, give us some equipment? She gave us a tool. She told us that some of that really has to do with the genetic makeup of our body.
Right.
That really, while you're trying to psych yourself out and discount that person, and men do this to women too. I love her. She a good woman, but she just don't excite me. She just
Exactly.
don't.
That's
Same,
the other part.
and they'll
let me
make
deal
a
with that
woman.
too.
Deal with that too.
I want to say that, and because I'm not just I just don't want to bash men.
That's right.
But I want to say also to women that men are in that same vein. They actually can find themselves from that same perspective. You're a nice woman,
Right.
but you just don't do that crazy kinky stuff that he may have gotten from another woman, and so now he considers you boring.
Right.
So now he's going out trying to find another woman who can sex him, who do all this crazy stuff to
And
him
you
that he had
justify
another
it.
woman doing to him. And so now, exactly like she said, now he's trying to justify, well, you're boring. Well, you're not doing what I'm asking you to do.
fault.
Well, everybody's not the same.
That's right.
And so you don't want to miss out on a great woman because of sex. And that's the whole thing that this all boils down to. A man goes crazy because of sex, and a woman does too. So it's a dual role now.
Right.
So it's not just a one-sided thing. Because men do get to the point where they go out and they find another woman who can do it the way they want to, and then they go back home and just deal with sort of subtle Mary.
Right. And now, Dr. T, I want you to take on this next one. We're on trait 5. We only have 2 more, and then we're going to give y'all 5 ways to cut these soul ties. You know you have an unhealthy soul tie when you start taking on the negative traits of the person that you're tied with. Like, they're offended about something, and all of a sudden, you find yourself like, we feel like that about such and such. When you didn't have any, and I think you said it earlier, their disposition is one way, and you've gotten so entangled, all of a sudden, you find yourself behaving in a manner, and you're saying, you didn't used to act like that. You're acting just like such and such. Can't you? What is that? That you're taking on their characteristics because of those soul ties.
That's all that residue.
It's all exactly. And when we first got on, we talked about that limbic system. When we talked about the emotions that drive our memories and drive our our emotions. The limbic system has so much. Did you know that women's limbic system is almost twice as large as a man's?
Wow, I did
So
not.
exactly. So when we talk about our emotions, when we talk about our memories, when we talk about all of those hormones that we have as women, you have to think that all of that residue from a man is still within us.
Wow.
Men wash it and keep going.
Wow.
But women,
And semen is still there.
it's still there.
Right.
All of the residue. So when you think
Listen,
about,
that's true.
yeah, when you think about you physically as a woman, men wash it and go. Women is still inside of you. That residue
Stays.
stays.
That's right.
So now you're taking on his traits.
Right.
Now let me go a little further with this
Hold on.
because
Somebody just said we need to do a part 2 of this. I was thinking that. You know what?
I want to touch on another aspect of this because you always want to remember that your actions, your unhealthy soul tie, not only affects you,
Oh, that's
Yes.
but it
yes.
affects your children.
That is
Absolutely.
good.
And especially if
Get
you
on
have
that.
children by these type of men.
That's right.
Because
Good.
I know a family right now. I promise you, I know the guy's bipolar. And I'm telling you, the kids the same way. Even though they're not together. And so we have to understand that when you hook up with a guy
Right.
whose family or even himself has those bipolar or schizophrenic tendencies and you hook up with him,
Right.
you don't realize it's not just semen that's in you. It's all those crazy characteristics that he has
Exactly.
that can still be a part of you and your child if you have children. Because you'll start wondering, well, why is my child acting like this? Well, think about his daddy.
Right.
Because it may be a sign that the son got some of the residue from that same situation.
You don't even know you just went into my sixth thing. How do you recognize that you're in an unhealthy, that you have an unhealthy soul tie? When you try to defend your right to be with that person, even when it's negatively affecting not just you, but other people that are tied and connected to you.
And even when everybody else know
Right.
that
So you're
don't-
defensive. You're defensive about it.
So basically, what you're saying, empowerment and enlightenment specialist, is that I don't. Is that I don't. If I'm in a healthy soul tie relationship,
Right.
I will not have to defend
Oh
it.
no, you won't defend that.
But if I'm in an unhealthy one, there will have to be some type of defense where I have to defend why I'm with these people.
Right, like, so that's, we're being real raw and relevant. So somebody is saying, girl, that man always in the streets. That man ain't ever home. Every time I go to a party, old boy is
Right.
there. You know, well, he don't never spend no time with you. We get our time, man, and he worked long, and so he have to have his time. You just defend. The man had said anything, ain't had to defend a word, but you feeling getting all in your feelings because somebody's recognized. Somebody has, you feel like they put the sheets back on you, and you saying, well, let me defend this because now I gotta make it seem like I'm okay with being in there, so I gotta put something in front of it. That's a sign of something that there's an unhealthy
Healthiness.
soul tie to that.
That is so true.
Here's the last one. All right.
And then I'm going to give you some tips on how to break those soul
Oh
ties.
yeah, we're gonna
Alright,
talk
now.
about how to break them. So that last one is you have simultaneously experiences that can be tied to that person. For instance, that person start feeling sick or that person start feeling something, and all of a sudden you find yourself like, I knew I wasn't feeling well. You didn't feel good. I just knew. You try to tie your experiences, your emotions. You try to tie them to that person. That's not natural. There's something unnatural about that. He can't be sick by himself because you got to make it seem like, I wasn't feeling. That's crazy. That's crazy that he was doing that. There's something, and then you looking for a way
An
to stay
attachment.
connected.
You're looking for ways
That's
to
the
stay
word I was
connected and
looking
attached.
for. You're looking for a way to stay attached. But you know what? In the last 10 minutes of this show, and we hoping you guys are here to share, we are getting ready to talk about the fact that there is life after a soul tie. You can be free from dangerous soul ties.
Absolutely.
And we're going to hit on some. I'm going to do my favorite one, but we're going to hit, and I see all the, oh man, look at all the love that just erupted on the screen. Thank you guys. You can be free from soul ties. And I think that's the number one thing everybody's saying. Listen, I see myself. You've called me out. I know that this is unhealthy.
Right.
That chick is not for me. I can't shake her. That man don't mean me any good. I can't shake him. What do I do? How do I get rid of this soul tie?
And I can't stress it enough before you get started. You have got to acknowledge it. We've given you the tools. I'm sorry. We've identified it for you. you. We've laid it out there. We've given you the 7 signs of an unhealthy soul tie. Lawrence broke it down for you, real raw and relevant.
Ooh, yeah.
So, oh yeah, you broke it down
broke
for
it
him.
down
now.
now.
You broke it down for him now.
You gave it to
You
him.
gave it to him. So now there is no shame.
Right.
Take the bag of
Right.
shame off your face, your head. Open your eyes, because until you do that, you will not be able to break that tie.
Hold on, and thank you guys. Somebody said it's better than green leaf.
Open up. We're looking for you, baby. And let me start with that. I don't know. I'm going to start right here. The first thing you want to do is admit that there is a problem.
Yes.
You've got to admit. I mean, I know Tracy said acknowledge, but I just want to use a different A since she took my acknowledge. I want you to admit that there is a problem. Admit that you have a hard time. Not let him come over at night, in the afternoon, or whenever the case may be. Admit that that sexual encounter that you had with him is really got you going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Admit. You have to admit it first, because if you don't ever admit, because they always tell people with Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous, the first thing you got to do is acknowledge that there's a problem, because if you don't ever acknowledge it and admit it, you can't ever get any help.
That's right. And while you're admitting it, it goes along with what I was going to say. And then forgive yourself. And ask for forgiveness, even if you have to pray. I got into a relationship, and you know, I was looking at statistics. Most unhealthy soul ties you got into in a negative way anyway. There was somebody else's man. You were with somebody else already. One of the reasons that it was an unhealthy soul tie to begin with is because you sneaking doing it anyway. They weren't yours. You weren't theirs anyway. You know, you were seeing them. You had somebody, but you were dealing with them on the side anyway. So the unhealthy part of it, the thing that you had to go through that was wrong, you've got to say, listen, I need to be forgiven for that. I need to forgive myself. But that goes with what Lawrence just said, admitting. And that's that first step, admitting and asking for forgiveness. Now, here is the second one, and it's the big one for me. And y'all can jump on it, but I'm going to take a stab at it. You want to get rid of a soul tie. Disassociate yourself with the tangible things that reinforces that soul tie.
What?
Now, I'm getting ready to come down y'all street tonight with this.
Come on now.
If you are keeping things that man gave you, I'm talking from a woman's point of view, you are reinforcing that soul tie. Yeah, he bought you a ring. Yeah, he bought you that dooney. Yes, he did those things. He sent you that card that made
You're missing
you
the
melt.
most important thing. Throw away that lingerie.
Listen, excuse me, what did that say? Lingerie. I got it down. Listen, I got this one. Gifts, cards, rings and jewelry, that little special pendant, and you just don't want to take it off because it's reminding you of the former, you know. But this is when it used to be right. Dangerous and detrimental soul ties were never right. Stop holding on to the remnant. If he was cheating on you from the first time y'all met, he had somebody else. What memory are you really holding on to? Because he wasn't ever faithful then.
I don't know if I see this on there. They need to throw away that vibrator too.
Woo!
Did I say that? I'm sorry. Y'all didn't raise that. I'm sorry.
Real raw.
Listen, but you know what? That was going to get me to this. Intimate photos.
There you go.
Pictures you took, pictures you keeping in your phone, that pictures that you took in your phone that you're keeping. Agree? They said better than green leaf.
Keep it real.
Pictures, because we got to get where people are. Pictures that you kept in your phone from when y'all went on the trip, from when y'all snuck off and did this. You know,
but I want to remember.
But I just want to remember. I'm just gonna keep that. Hold on, that video y'all made, and you got it in a secret lockbox. Listen, listen. Hold on. Text that you screenshot because you want to go back to the text when he did say something sweet, and you want to go back. Songs and CDs that just remind you. Lawrence talks about this a lot. Those songs that trigger, that's all residue. And if you do not separate, there was a movie. I don't know if people know this. I'm a scary movie fanatic. I read scary books and I watch scary movies. And there was this movie that came out last year called The Remains. And what happened was these people went into this house that used to be haunted by somebody. And they couldn't figure out, no matter what they did, no matter they cleansed it, they washed it, they prayed over it, that person had buried some things that belonged to them in that house. And every time they saw it, they were like, oh, this is an antique. I don't want to get rid of that. But that was linking them. That always kept that person's spirit alive in that house. You take that as so it is in the spirit, it's in the natural. And so in the natural, when I can look down at my hand, when I can look at my neck, when I'm putting on that outfit that he said, this the
Girl,
one
you
I
look
killed
good.
him. Baby, this the one I killed him in. And every time you are reinforcing the residue. And if you want to break an unhealthy soul tie, listen to me. Get rid of the remnants.
The other thing that you want to do from a real perspective is verbalize a prayer. Say a prayer out loud.
Okay.
Literally to break out that soul tie.
That's right.
The Bible said that life and death is in the power of the tongue.
If you don't stop reading every note I have, this is
You want to get to the
good.
point where you speak it out. You've got to start verbalizing it. Speak it out. You got to do that because other than that, because when you pray out to God, when you cry out to God, and you really want to break it out, God will help you. Because I tell people all the time there are two different types of cries. Two different types of cries. There's a cry of attention, and then there's a cry of affliction.
Woo.
And God knows the difference between the cry of attention and the cry of affliction. And so if you cry to God with the cry of affliction, I promise you, He'll come to your rescue. Now, in case you don't know what that means, you've seen a baby who cries, there's no tears coming down.
Right.
They just want attention.
Right.
But then there's a certain cry that the baby has. You know that either he done burned himself or he's falling or whatever.
Right.
That's the cry of affliction.
That's right.
And God knows the difference just like we as parents know the difference.
So we keep reiterating that. You want to get rid of unhealthy soul ties. We just said, number one, admit it. That you got into that situation and you are unhealthily tied to somebody. And when you admit it, forgive yourself for even getting involved with that person. You know you were already cheating. You know that it was bad and you kept doing it. So forgive yourself. Second, we just said disassociate yourself with anything that reminds you of that person. Get rid of those jewelry. Get rid of that lingerie, those pictures, those cards. Listen, those screenshots of text that he sent that made you feel good. Get rid of that stuff. The next thing, and Lawrence just said, and then you prayed. I was coming to that. Before I got to that, what I was going to say is, you said something powerful, saying things out loud. And Dr. T probably can speak to that. When you're in unhealthy soul ties, you make rash vows. And men, we're good at saying stuff like that. We say stuff like, but I told him I'd never leave him. But I told him I'd never love anybody. Like, I told him this body just belonged to him.
Yeah.
You know,
you got a tattoo.
Right, you got So we gotta renounce those things. We'll say you're the only one I'll ever love. Believe it or not, because we keep saying death and life are in the power of your tongue. You've put vows out there that were completely
unhealthy.
They're unhealthy, especially if you weren't even married to them. Or you say things that you know are beyond your ability to do. Right. You can't say never because you do not know what tomorrow holds. So what you have to do is those rash vows that you put out there. I told him no matter what, I'll always be there for him.
And
why would I tell somebody that no matter what, I will always be there for them?
Most times they say that because the man has said to them some of the same lies.
Right.
Some of the same stuff.
Right.
So they feel like, well, he told me that was going to be me and him forever. And so she felt at that moment that I can tell him rather that I'm going to be here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just totally for you.
That's good. That's right.
Listen, if I ain't going to go there.
And listen, because we're being transparent. Right. I remember being in having an unhealthy soul tie. And this guy was older than me. And he used to say, as a matter of fact, that's when I first heard about it. I didn't know any better, and he would saying things like, listen, you might try to leave me, but you understand our souls are tied now. We connected. There's a blood tie. We together, and no matter what you do, I'm just going to... And I was sitting there saying, what? So in my head, I start rationalizing, well, there's no need for me to try to be... listen, women, we just got to tell the truth. We just believe it. And there's no need for me to try to be with anybody else. That man listen to me speaking, that man going to always be able to get me. It doesn't matter what I do. He going to... That's one... like it's a bag, like we wearing a bag. No matter what I do, that man going to always... And do you know, years later, after we had been married and divorced, had kids, I saw him again, and I said, you used to kill me with that blood tie, soul tie. He was like... I heard that from an older guy. He was like, you want to ever keep a woman, especially if you get one younger, just tell her you got a soul tie with her. She'll be stuck forever. I was like, bro, do you know how long I carried that? But Lawrence just said, women, we make it, this is good. Right. We make it be what we want it to be. Like, I know.
We glamorize it.
Oh, yeah. We got to, because we got to find a way to justify this is what I have and don't have nothing. So we got to tell the truth. So those crazy vows you made that were irrational, and they're unnatural.
And
stop telling people, and especially, like I said, we're not talking about marriage. We're talking about unhealthy soul tie. Stop telling that man, just you, baby, just forever. And then you do it right, and then you emotionally you're tattooing him in your soul, and then somebody else that wants to get to you can't because you made a decree over yourself that I'm tied to this person that's unhealthy to me.
Let me just say one quick thing before we get off. I really want, ladies, I really want you to start thinking about it. I'm saying for those who may be stuck in this type of situation, really start asking yourself some important questions. Why am I stuck with a person who I know is not bringing anything to the table?
Right.
Why am I letting him stay with me, unmarried, and he's not doing anything for me? I'm lonely while I'm in the house with him. Why am I still in this relationship when I know he's got another woman? And you may start really coming to the conclusion that, you know what, I've been in denial a long time. And tonight needs to be the night that you come out of denial because you can do bad by yourself.
That's good, and that brings me to my next point. I got to get these last because they're important. You can't overlook the steps of how to get rid of them. We've been giving you guys, and if you just coming on, I see a lot of people are still joining us. Go back and watch this video. Listen to me. Forgive that person.
Absolutely.
If you have anything against that person that you have an unhealthy and unnatural, because what happens is unforgiveness is a soul tie. Believe this or not, and this isn't even sexual. This can be with somebody, an old friend, a parent that you guys are estranged. Unforgiveness is a soul tie. It keeps you tied to that person because somewhere in your head they still owe you something, and you're saying, "No, I'm not letting them go because they still owe me an apology. They still owe me an explanation. They still need to tell me why they did me like that." That's a soul tie. You want to free yourself from a soul tie? Forgive them. Not about them. You're losing you. That is something, because what happens is you're answering the phone for them and you want to hear, because somewhere in your head you want to hear, "I'm sorry." You hoping that you're going to hear, "I messed up." You hoping you're going to hear, "I should have never done you like that." But guess what, ladies and guys? You might not ever hear that.
And the longer you hold on to it, the more poisonous and toxic you become.
That's right. Now, we're getting ready to close. Last two steps. Verbalize that you, and he said this before, renounce and denounce that soul tie out of your mouth. We talk about it takes 21 days, is it, to make or break a habit? So if you want to form a habit, or if you want to denounce a habit, listen, we mark everything else on our calendars for 21 days. You get up and say, "I am no longer tied to such and such." I'm going to use Mitch. I hope Mitch, they're not Mitch. I don't know anybody Mitch. I'm no longer tied to Mitch. Mitch no longer has power and control over me mentally, sexually, physically, emotionally. Mitch does not have. I forgive Mitch. I am no longer bound to what Mitch did to me. I am not Mitch's victim. See, I'm the empowerment specialist, and so what I have to do, you're going to always hear me giving you affirmations. And the last thing you do is you declare that it's broken. I declare that it is broken. My connection with Mitch is broken. And you have to do it consistently, because we always say this: what your mouth says, your ears hear. What your ears say, your actions say. Wait a minute, she's gonna keep doing that. She really must not. And what Tracy was saying, and so then in your body physically, what's happening is now, instead of every time Mitch's name comes up, it's not gonna jump quick, because you've been saying, "I'm past Mitch. I don't." And so now your body is saying, "Wait a minute," and then you find yourself saying, "Oh, Mitch called." Okay, man. You gotta hear it. We're giving y'all some wisdom tonight.
And the last thing I'm gonna say for the night, this is it. And then when you get to the point of denouncing and taking those 21 days to say, I am not going to be tied to it, then start singing that song, "I think you better leave me alone." Pack your bags, get the hell on. That was one of my favorite David Hollister Backstreet songs.
Get going. Look up that song. Get going. Get going. Guys, we hope you have enjoyed this tonight. Yo, we dealing. This is what you call us, the dream team. We're dealing with the dream team tonight. You got us raw, real, and
relevant. If we had a mic,
we'll drop the mic. We hope.
I started to sing it.
Don't do it.
Did you better leave me alone? Pack your bags.
Listen, we know we're laughing. We know this was a serious issue. But we want to let you know, guess what? There's joy after the storm. And there is some happiness on the other side. If you haven't already, join the movement by going on Facebook to My Relationship Movement. Join us. Follow us on Instagram. Like us on Facebook. Go on YouTube. Subscribe. Go to our website, www.myrelationshipmovement.com. Tomorrow, you'll be able to see this video, or even tonight, you can just go back to our pages and share this. Because I know if you've been on it, even if you just caught the last 5 minutes, I know you're saying to yourself, I got to go back and listen to this. Share it, because there's somebody else that needs to
And for those of you who are out of state, out of town, we would love to come to your city. Just call us, inbox us. We'll be in your city to talk the same kind of real, raw, relevant stuff, and we'll bring it on in like we did tonight.
And we have some big things coming up soon, so y'all do not want to not follow the relationship movement. We got some great things coming. Well, like Tracy said, once again, sometimes we need physical things to affirm us. I'm wearing our shirt, our own customized shirt. It says, I am worth the investment. I wear it because it reminds me that I don't have to take anything. And Tracy's wearing the shirt that says, listen, not this year. What's the hashtag? My peace matters.
And we got a t-shirt coming out for the men as soon as we at least jump on this.
Yeah, we really gonna do. We got some great t-shirts getting ready to come out. So guys, support us. The more you support us, the bigger things we can do. Thank you guys for joining us today.
Last but not least, we're gonna leave you with our phrase, and that is this right here.
I am worth the investment.
See y'all later.
Good night.
I'm gonna cut this off. I'm gonna let these ladies sit here while I cut
while we waiting, can you guys show us some love?
Yeah, show some love.
We looking. I see it. Hey guys. Hey Shonda. Hey Tamika. Hey Dorothy.
Hey all y'all.
Hey Sharon.
Dorothy,
Barbara. Katura. Centoria. Betty. Ayada. Renita. Tamika, Sherelle. Thank you, Disha, Renee, all of y'all. Thank you.
Thank y'all. I'm finna cut y'all off. Bye. Okay, now.